Full disclosure, I have no idea what the budget of this deck actually will be. This may be a budget $30 deck. It may actually be a deck that's $200. I have no idea because this is what happens when cards have not been released yet. But I like gates, so I wanted to try my hand at towns. How's it going, everybody? Hopefully y'all are having a great day, although I will say that I am not really the most excited person about the Final Fantasy set. However, there is a commander that makes me a little happy because I like the gates mechanic in Magic the Gathering a lot. But there is one card I don't like for gates at all, and that is Maze's End. Because Maze's End ends games on its own, and it's just a boring win condition for me. So, lo and behold, when we see the Wandering Minstrel here, and we see that towns do not actually have any of these win conditions. The towns here listed are basically the same thing as the multicolor gates are. And then, of course, we've got on top of them other towns that have extra abilities like Starting Town. We could use Planar Nexus. That's technically a town now. We have a bunch of utility towns, and some of them are even cards like Ishgard here that just so happen to be oh so wonderful adventure cards, which, you know, are like diet MDFCs to me. I'm really excited about towns. I don't know how much support we're actually gonna have for them, and I hope we get more support than what's in this set, much like we did with gates. But so far, towns at least seem to be an okay prospect. So I want to put together something that's a little super frenzy, a little token heavy. We'll see what comes out of it. Hopefully y'all will enjoy. The Wandering Minstrel is a Simic 1/3 human bard that has the Spelunking ability, where lands don't enter tapped. And he also has the ability that says when you enter combat, if you have 5 or more towns, make a 2/2. Oh, that's so cute. And then he's got even more text on him for some reason. What we got under there? Oh, we pay 8 mana and we get an overrun ability. We get an overrun ability on a landfall commander. Alrighty. Well, I guess that means that we already know what to do. We are going to be using him as the deck's Gond Gate, and we are going to be ignoring his Minstrel's Ballad ability almost entirely, because it quite frankly doesn't make enough tokens to matter. However, we are going to be relying heavily on winning with that last ability, but we run into a problem. By focusing this deck so hard on an archetype that is not fully realized, not fully supported, we have to dedicate a lot of deck space to this archetype. This means that, yes, we have to have a nice plump ramp section, but then we also have to have cards that can yank out our towns as well. And while there are some cards like Reach the Horizon, which is effectively the circuitous route of this set, which does both of those for us, there's not enough of this in the set. So we're going to have to rely on cards like Sylvan Scrying and Knight of the Reliquary in order to get there as well. These are some of the reasons I decided not to lean into the $15 budget for this deck. One, we don't know what the full cost of all these cards are going to be once the prices settle. And two, I want to make this deck as functional as possible out the gate, so y'all have something to play with when you get your Final Fantasy boxes that you definitely overpaid for. So, we're building a landfall, sort of, tokens, sort of, kinda, sort of, Super Friends deck. Now, why are we leaning into any Super Friends style effects? Well, it's because I found there was another problem. Because so much of the deck has to be dedicated to the land base, 45 lands. So much of the deck has to be dedicated to pulling those lands out. You don't have room for dedicated removal and dedicated draw because the commander is doing neither of these. In a landfall deck like Tatiova, this is very easy. The commander handles most of the draw, so it frees up room for removal and counter spells. Our commander doesn't do those things. The only thing that our commander fills in is the win condition gap. And I'm going to be honest, most decks should only be running 1 or 2 cards that serve as a oops, I win button anyway, so he's really not freeing that much deck space for us. So this is where Planeswalkers will come into play. We need to make sure that cards that have the ability to not only draw us cards, like Lord Windgrace, also have the ability to recur things or blow up cards, and we're going to see this a lot in the deck. Planeswalkers that serve a lot of different purposes to make sure that our deck does not lose steam. It also just so happens that a deck that contains a lot of Planeswalkers and a lot of tokens has tokens that it can spare to block for the Planeswalkers. So that definitely helps out a ton. That said, because we are relying on these different mechanics, we do need to spread our towns out a bit. And what better way to do that than adding in Copy Land and Doppelgang? Both of these cards can copy lands, but Doppelgang can copy any number of permanents as long as we're sinking enough mana into it. And while towns don't have a Baldur's Gate equivalent giving them access to tons of mana, by playing this as a landfall deck, we should be able to use this to our advantage. And speaking of towns, we do need to get those towns out of our deck, so let's look at the cards that don't ramp us but still yank the towns out. Sylvan Scrying grabs any land from our deck to our hand. Expedition Map does the same thing. World Map is a bad Expedition Map, and Knight of the Reliquary can sacrifice a forest or a plains to grab any land card from the battlefield and put it on, or from the grab it from the deck, there we go, those are the words I'm trying to say, and put it on the battlefield. And putting lands on the battlefield should be a great value proposition because we are running a 12-card token package. These tokens are going to have to run the gamut of protecting our Planeswalkers to being our win conditions. So Elfsworn Giant will give us a 1/1 green elf when we drop a land on the board. Retreat to Emeria does the same thing with a 1/1 core ally. Spore Mound does this with a 1/1 green sapperling. Maha Rediguard Protector does this with a white human, but also gives all of our creatures 1/1. Just kind of does a lot here. Emeria Angel creates 1/1 birds with flying. Zendikaar's Royal makes 2/2 green elementals. Felidar Retreat makes 2/2 cats. Scoot Swarm makes a 1/1 Scoot Swarm, which makes a 1/1 Scoot Swarm, which makes a 1/1 Scoot Swarm. This card does not need help to win a game. It will win a game on its own. It's kind of nutty. I only use this in AC. I don't use this in any other decks that care about lands because I think the win con is kind of boring and played out. Then we have Omnath, Locus of Rage, which makes a 5/5 red and green elemental token when we drop a land on the battlefield, and also gives those elementals the ability to burn people for 3 or burn creatures for 3 if they ever die. Rampaging Baloths makes 4/4s anytime that we drop a land on the battlefield, and the Necrobloom makes 2/2s or 0/1s depending on how many uniquely named lands we have out, and it gives our lands in our graveyard dredge too, so we can get back towns that have served their purpose already or got blown up by random land destruction. And then finally we have Avenger of Zendikar, another card that, like Scootsworn, can just win the game on its own, making a bunch of 0/1 plants, and every time we landfall they get 1/1. This can win without our commander, and it does a great job at doing so. So I wasn't expecting this to work out, but apparently Manipool actually allowed me into their affiliate program. So if you are picking up any of my decks, please use my Manipool link in the description below. It will take you to their website, and if you want to pick up any of my $15 decks, you can get them through there, and I will get a little bit of a kickback from that. I would greatly appreciate it, and thank you very, very much. You also have the ability to import a deck over to Manipool way easier than before by just clicking on the Manipool button on Moxfield. Like, that's just a thing you can do now. So, yeah, thank you very much for Manipool for sponsoring me. I appreciate it. Now, everything else the deck is going to be trying to do is going to be wrapped up in draw and removal packages, so let's go ahead and go into those. We're going to be running an 11-card draw package, and some of these focus very heavily on landfall. Tatiova will draw us a card and give us a life anytime we drop a land on the battlefield. Eureka Moment and Urban Evolution draw us multiple cards and also let us play an extra land on the battlefield. Trouble the Overworld can cost 1 less for every land we have out that's a town, so it becomes a 2-mana draw 4. Kind of a fantastic payoff, not even going to lie a little bit. And then cards like Thalia and Gitrog Monster work really well in their own right, letting us play an additional land on the battlefield, letting us sacrifice a land in order to draw a card, and the Gitrog Monster himself does the same thing. Let us sacrifice lands. Anytime a land touches the battlefield or touches the graveyard, we get to draw a card. This is why cards that can yank lands from our graveyard end up being very, very helpful. Speaking of that, let's get into the first of our planeswalkers, Lord Windgrace. He can discard cards to draw cards. If he's discarded a land, he gets to draw 2 cards instead. His -3 lets us take 2 lands from our graveyard and put them on the battlefield, and his ult, which we never plan on getting to, can blow up a lot of permanents and make green cats. Kiora the Crashing Wave has a +1 ability to basically turn a card off when it comes to damage. Her -1 lets us draw a card and then play an additional land, and then her ultimate gives us an emblem that we will never use, but it makes 9/9 blue Krakens, so that's a really, really funny way to win games. Narset Parter of Butt Cheeks is in here as well, so that we can look through our deck and grab a non-creature, non-land card. Our deck only contains 18 creatures, so that gives us 12 planeswalkers, 14 sorceries, 4 instants, 5 enchantments, and 3 artifacts to rip out of the deck with this. That's a pretty good rate. Means every clutch of 4, we should be able to find 1 or 2 cards to yank out with it. Teferi Temporal Pilgrim lets us draw cards, and anytime we draw cards, we can put loyalty counters on Teferi. He can also make blue spirit tokens, which are fantastic, as they are great blockers for our deck. And then he's got a -12 we'll never get to, but it's really funny to think about, letting us, you know, just get rid of an opponent's entire board. It's really, really funny. Then we have Teferi Master of Time. +1 lets us draw a card and discard a card. -3 phases out a creature we don't control. And -10 allows us to cause our opponents to flip the table on us because we took a bunch of extra turns and monopolized their time. Sidebar, never use that final ability. Find ways to politic your Teferi dying before this happens if you value your friendships more than winning the game. That is my advice to you. I suggest you stick to it. That all said, Teferi Master of Time is a great card to protect because it will just give you lots and lots of card filtering, lots and lots of advantage throughout a game. It's a merfolk looter that can be used on everybody's turn. It's really kind of nutty. I really probably sort of should be putting this in Sephiroth. Actually, I'm getting one of these to put in Sephiroth. This card's just kind of dumb nuts. Anyway, that does it for the draw section of the deck. Now we got to talk about removal and stopping our opponents from winning the game. We're only going to be running 8 dedicated removal pieces, and this is mostly due to a lack of space in the deck. And most of these removal pieces are also going to be planeswalkers because I need them to be able to serve multiple purposes. So, Binding the Old Gods blows up a non-land permanent and then also grabs a forest out of our library. Then it gives our tokens Death Touch. It's just an all-around great card. Ob Nixilis Reignited can draw us a card and lose us a life. It can also blow up creatures. It can also get us an emblem that can make a player burn to death by other people drawing cards. Garruk Apex Predator can blow up planeswalkers, can blow up creatures, can make tokens. It's just a fantastic card. Nicol Bolas Planeswalker can blow up creatures, can gain control of creatures, or blow up non-creatures. It can gain control of creatures, and then it can get a -9 that we will never use. Liliana Dreadhorde General will draw us cards anytime our creatures die. It can also make us tokens. It can also make every player sacrifice 2 creatures. Vraska Golgari Queen can sacrifice a permanent to gain a life and draw a card. It can also blow up any non-land permanent on the board if its mana cost is 3 or less, and of course it's got an emblem we're not going to worry about getting. Then we get Freyalise Llanowar's Fury, which can make us Llanowar Elves to help us with ramp, let us blow up artifacts or enchantments, or let us draw a card for all the green creatures we control, which our deck makes a lot of. And then we've got Nicol Bolas Dragon God. Its +1 lets us draw a card and make everybody lose a card in their hand, or we can neg it by 3 to make our opponent lose a creature or a planeswalker. And then, of course, it's -8, wins us the game instantaneously, and we're not going to really plan around getting to that -8. But protecting our planeswalkers is still part of our game plan, so if it happens, well, it just kind of happens. But that's not all the removal we're running. Because we're focusing on planeswalkers, we get to run a little more board wipes than average. We could technically run 6 or 7, but I don't have the space for that. So we're going to be running Time Wipe, a removal that will wipe all the creatures off the board, but will protect our commander effectively. Hour of Reckoning will blow up all non-token creatures, letting us kill everything except the tokens we're trying to win with. Fumigate will blow up all the creatures and also gain us a ton of life if we happen to become arch enemy. And Austere Command is a modal board wipe we can use to get rid of whatever we really need to get rid of at that time, be it artifacts, enchantments, big creatures, or little creatures, or any combination of 2 of those things. And that does it for the board wipes and removal. This should be enough to make sure our opponents don't win the game. I would like to run more interaction than this if possible, but 12 is about the maximum I can fit in this deck as it currently exists. Now let's get into ramp. We're going to be running 13 ramp spells here, and of course there were already some cards that can fetch lands out, but with the ramp we are going to be leaning very heavily on ramp that can get a town on the board, with one exception. We are running a Nature's Lore because we are running a 5-color deck, and Nature's Lore can get a Murmuring Bosk out for us, and Murmuring Bosk is a 3-color land that has the typing of forest. But past that, Clifftop Lookout can grab a land from the top of our deck and throw it on the battlefield. Hour of Promise grabs any 2 lands from our deck, puts them on the battlefield. Explore and Growth Spiral draws us a card and then drops a land on the battlefield. Planar Genesis lets us take a land from the top 4 cards of our library and throw it on the battlefield. Uvenwald Hydra grabs any land from the deck, puts it on the battlefield, and then it's as big as the amount of lands we have. 10-foot Discovery grabs any 1 to 4 lands from our deck and puts them on the battlefield, depending on how many opponents are dumb enough to be tempted by it. Reach the Horizon grabs any combination of basic lands or towns from our deck, 2 of them, and puts them on the battlefield. Poo Poo UFO can put a land from our hand onto the battlefield. It's basically a walking atlas for us. And then we've got Prish's Wanderings. Search our library for a basic land or town, put it on the battlefield tapped. Reap and Sow for 4 mana can either blow up a land or get any land from our deck and put it on the battlefield. And then Gladius allows us to grab any base or any land from our library and put it on the battlefield tapped, which of course it won't be tapped because of our commander. And, well, that does it for our ramp. That should be enough to give us what we need, but for the actual basic lands and rest of the lands in the deck, we're running 2 of every basic lands. We are running every single dual town possible, but Simic gets 2 dual towns for some reason because Balam Garden is a dual-colored land as well. We are running 5 lands that are fetchable with our Nature's Lore and Corrosion Verge. Again, Murmuring Bosk is here because it can tap for 3 types of mana while also being a forest. If you use Corrosion Verge, which I will show you here in a second, it is this land right here. It grabs a forest or a forest and a plains from the deck, puts them on the battlefield. The best thing to do is to grab Murmuring Bosk and Prairie Stream. This will give you access to all but your deck's red mana when you use this. It's a great way to get everything you need, and great thing to note, that it gives you access to Simic mana to play the commander if you don't have Simic mana already. Then we have fetchable lands. We are running the Corrosion Verge, like I mentioned, and Tranquil Landscape, Bountiful Landscape, and Foreboding Landscape, because these lands do enough to justify being in the deck and taking up their slots. Our Omni lands that are not towns are going to be Command Tower and Exotic Orchard, and then our Omni lands that are towns are going to be Capital City, Crossroads Village, Planar Nexus, and Starting Town. All of these have some type of clause that can allow us to get any mana color we need, and of course, Planar Nexus is going to be doing work in every single deck that has non-basic lands. Then for the utility towns, we are going to be running Midgar, City of Mako, which can allow us to sack a creature to draw 2 cards, and then of course, it is a basic black land after that. Lindberm, Industrial Regency, which can make a black wizard token and also has the ability to be a land afterwards. Jador, which can cause a opponent to mill half their library. Ishgard, which can cause us to return 2 artifacts or enchantment cards from our graveyard to our hand while also being a land. And Zenderkand, which can make a 1/1 colorless hero, and then is a green land. Then we've got Clive's Hideaway, the hideaway land of the set, giving us access to free cards. Adventurer's Inn to gain some life. The Gold Saucer to give us a fun coin-flipping minigame to create treasure tokens. And Eden Seat of the Sanctum to let us mill cards. And then, if we sacrifice this land via this card's effect, we can return any permanent card from our graveyard to our hand. And then we can use things like Lord Windgrace to get this back onto the battlefield. It's a pretty easy card to abuse in a deck like this. And I hate talking about Planeswalkers because I always feel out of breath when I do, but we still got to go over how to play the deck. So let's do that. Looking at the deck's opening hand, I'm actually really excited because we have Clifftop Lookout, and we've got Simic Mana, and we've got a Growth Spiral. We're actually in a pretty good spot. We can't get our commander out super early, but that's fine. That's fine. Let's see what we can do with this. Drawing our opening card, it's a Swamp. Let's go ahead and put Murmuring Bosk on the battlefield tapped. Then we go to the next turn. We have a Nicol Bolas. That'll be fantastic to use in a bit. We're going to go ahead and put Jador on the battlefield tapped so it's out of the way. Then we move into turn 3. Let's go ahead and pay 1-2. And let's get... do we want our commander out? Yeah, we want our commander out. Let's get the commander out, and then it's going to put the Gold Saucer on the... We're going to put Gold Saucer on the battlefield untapped. Actually, no. We're going to put the Dark City on the battlefield so that it's out of the way. Then we move into turn 4. We have Eden, Seat of the Sanctum. Let's go ahead and put the Gold Saucer on the battlefield and pay 1, 2, 3. Let's play Clifftop Lookout, and let's see what land we get off the top of the deck. It goes until it hits Command Tower. Good, good. This goes down here, and it would put it on the battlefield tapped, but our commander negates that ability, so then we get to pay 2, and we get to play Growth Spiral to draw a card, and then play this untapped Farplane Gateway. Neat. Oh, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 towns, so we do not have the ability to use Wandering Minstrel's ability just yet. That will happen on turn 5 when we play Eden, Seat of the Sanctum. Now let's look at our mana. We have 1 black mana. We have 2 black mana here. We can't do this Nicol Bolas, but we could do this Nicol Bolas. It costs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, we can go ahead and tap. Ooh, actually, can we? Blue, black, black, red. Yep, we can. We'll lose a life for it, but we can get Nicol Bolas Planeswalker out, and we can go ahead and either blow up a powerful permanent, or we can steal an opponent's commander. I'm going to go with stealing an opponent's commander because that seems funny to me. Then our commander is going to create, what is it, a 2/2 elemental that it makes here? Let's take a look here. A 2/2 elemental token. So let's go ahead and make that right here. Got access to the elemental. We've got Nicol Bolas on the board. We can use our elemental and our Clifftop Lookout to defend Nicol Bolas, moving into the next turn. We have another Nicol Bolas in hand we can use, but let's go ahead and start spawning tokens now. Let's tap white, white, and then 1, 2. We get a Myria Angel out on the board. Let's go ahead and play a Swamp, which will spawn us a token. Let's go ahead and say, here's our Burb. Let's plus Nicol Bolas by 3 to get rid of a non-creature permanent. And then let's give our opponents... let's not do Tempt yet. Let's do 1, 2. Let's do Planar Genesis. 1, 2, 3, 4. That gets an island on the battlefield. I would have preferred anything else, but we can pay 1, 2, 3, 4 and play Tempt with Discovery. Let's assume our opponents have half a Brain Cell, and the Tempt with Discovery is not going to get more than a 1 land out of our library. So let's go ahead and say, let's get Baron out. It's not the best land to get out here, but we're going to run with it. Baron comes out. It's untapped. We have a bunch of birds we can block with. We'll use one of those to block for, or we'll use 2 of those to block for the Bolas, and we get to make another token. We'll go ahead and make that elemental token right here. All right, now our turn comes up, and we have a mountain we can play. That's going to give us a Burb. And do we play the Bolas Dragon God? That's the question. 8 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have 11 mana available. We can either make the Dragon God to draw into more cards, or we can try to use our Commander's ult ability. I don't think our Commander's ult ability is that important right now. I think drawing cards is more important. So let's steal another commander with Nicol Bolas, and then let's go ahead and go black, 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 blue, blue, red, and let's get Nicol Bolas out, and let's plus him by 1 to draw a card. Ooh, Foreboding Landscape. Do we have access to another black mana? Black, green, blue. Yes, we do. 1, 2, 3. We don't want the Foreboding Landscape. We are mana flooded, so we're going to cycle it out to draw a Clive's Hideaway. I'm actually way more okay seeing the Clive's Hideaway. So we're going to pass turn, making an elemental. And let's go ahead and say that once again, we have to block to keep our Bolases on the board. We're basically going to be doing that till the end of time. We're going to use this bolus to draw another card. It's a Eureka moment. Let's go ahead and see here. Clives. I can play the exile card if I control 4 more legendary creatures. I have 1 legendary creature. So let's put Clive's Hideaway out. And if we get like a Tatiova or something, that'll be sad. You know what? I'm actually okay with this. We can put a Fumigate under here. We can put that over here. Let's turn that over. We have 3 legendary creatures because we've stolen 2 commanders with Nicol Bolas. So if we get like a Tatiova or something, we're basically cooking with gas. But at this stage of the game, I think the correct thing to do is try to go for something looking like a win. We can at least make a bird hit hard, but we're having to defend our boluses. Maybe we just don't defend the boluses anymore. Let's use Nicol Bolas Planeswalker, actually. Let's steal another commander. So we have access to this card here. If we ever need to fumigate the board, we can. Okay, I'm okay with that. Let's go ahead and do 1, 2. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Where's my green? Let's do Eureka Moment, and let's draw 1, 2. And that's going to drop a Crozen Verge on the battlefield, which will make a bird token. There we go, and that creates bird. Crozen Verge gets to come onto the battlefield untapped, so we get to use the Crozen Verge and 2 mana to go ahead and crack the Verge, go into the library, and we get to grab a Canopy Vista on the battlefield untapped, and we also get to grab a Prairie Stream onto the battlefield untapped, and that will generate 2 more birds. I think that... Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We passed our opponent. We don't... actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8... 8 mana doppelgangs twice. Yeah, we passed our opponent. Because what we're going to do, we're going to let them kill our boluses. We don't care. Actually, no, we don't have to. We can block with all the birds. We block with every bird. Because when our turn comes around, we get to do this fun and quirky maneuver. We get to basically tap out. We'll keep our oh shit button online, but we get to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 mana, and 11 mana gives us fumigate, or gives us doppelgang 3 times. So we're going to create 3 copies of Emeria Angel. We are going to create 3 copies of this town and 3 copies of this town. Each of these will come into play untapped, and these Emeria Angels will come into play seeing them. 4 Emeria Angels will see 6 towns. So, our board gets to kind of look like this because of the Doppelgang. We have a lot of untapped mana available if need be. And we've stolen a bunch of commanders, and we have this many birds. We have 20 birds from that move. And then, if we could even use Zankerdam. We don't have to. We can. We'll play the Adventurers in, and that will make 4 more birds. And we'll just call these the Bolas Brigade. Their job is protect Bolas. We protect ourselves with this board, and now let's see what our final ability looks like. At the end of the turn... At the end of the game, we're at turn 10. We are protecting ourselves with all the birds in the world. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 2. We get to do 2 copies of our commander's ability. This will give all of our birds XX until end of turn, where X is the amount of towns we have. We have 7 towns here. 8, 9, 10... 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 14 towns. So we are taking our 20 birds, and we are giving them plus 28, plus 28. And we are swinging that number, whatever the fuck that number is, at our opponents. And they are most certainly dead. Now, if we get to ignore budget altogether, I would like to add in a Dragonback Assault to replace one of the board wipes in the deck, because this not only wipes the board, kind of sort of, depends on how big the creatures are, it also gives us red dragon creatures with flying whenever we landfall, so it serves multiple purposes. Springheart Nantuko also has a landfall ability to make us tokens, and it can make us copies of our other token producers, making it easier to assemble a lethal board state. AC Tyrant of Gyre Strait gives us some redundancy with Tatiova. Omnath Locus of the Royal does the same thing so long as we've got 8 or more lands on the board. Nissa Resurgent Animist gives us the ability to grab elves and elementals out of the deck, like, you know, that Omnath Locus of the Royal, and also has the ability to let us store mana whenever we play lands. Greensleeves gives us another great token producer that has other text on it that sometimes matters, and then we've got Scapeshift if you're really wanting to spend a lot of mana on, or a lot of money on your deck, letting you get rid of all of your non-towns and replace them with towns from your library for 4 mana. Really, really powerful effect here if you are willing to risk using this card. I think it's funny, though. That all said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the deck. I have no idea what the actual budget of this is going to look like when the set comes out. We'll find out. Maybe it's a $50 deck. Maybe it's a $30 deck. Who knows? It's Schrodinger's price point. Anyways, let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Briskreek, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that. Leela Uraraka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press, though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.